The engines murmured like distant thunder as the aircraft cut through the darkness above the Atlantic. Soft cabin lights glowed over rows of sleeping passengers. Their faces relaxed as the jet cruised high above the clouds. The flight felt ordinary. Peaceful even. The kind of long journey where nothing ever seemed to happen. Near the back, by a small oval window in row 22, a woman leaned against the glass, eyes closed. She looked like any exhausted traveler, dressed simply, a worn paperback tucked into the seat pocket in front of her. There was nothing about her that drew attention. Yet beneath that quiet surface lived something sharper, something trained to never fully rest. Even in sleep, her senses stayed alert. Years of discipline had taught her to feel changes in the air, shifts in tone, movements that didn't belong. So when the intercom suddenly crackled, her awareness stirred before her eyes ever opened. The pilot's voice came through, calm but strained. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I'm sorry to interrupt your rest, but we have an urgent situation. If there is a Delta Force sniper on board this aircraft, please identify yourself immediately." The words rolled through the cabin like a shockwave. Conversations died. Heads lifted. Fear crept into every glance. A Delta Force sniper on. Civilian plane. No one laughed. No one breathed dizzily. In row 22, her eyes opened slowly. She stared at her reflection in the darkened window, the faint outline of a woman who had once been someone else entirely. The voice had dragged her back to a life she believed she'd buried. Night operations. Silent rifles. Targets that never knew she was there. She had walked away from all of it. Or at least she thought she had. Her heartbeat remained steady as she straightened in her seat, while others whispered and stared. She studied the cabin with careful precision. Two men stood out instantly. I sat near the emergency exit, his hands slipping inside his jacket again and again. At the other farther back sat rigid and watchful, eyes fixed on the crew. To everyone else, they were nervous passengers. To her, they were a threat. She rose. The simple motion drew eyes, but she moved with calm purpose, stepping into the aisle with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced danger more times than she could count. The flight attendants tried to stop her, fear written across their faces, but she leaned close and spoke softly, firmly. They listened. Moments later, she stood before the cockpit door. The captain looked at her with disbelief and hope tangled together. "I'm here," she said. "He didn't ask for proof. He didn't need it. They're already identified," she added. "Two men, armed." "What do you need?" he asked. "Trust." The plan unfolded without a single announcement. The crew created distractions, spilled drinks, misplaced items, harmless chaos that pulled eyes away from where they shouldn't be looking. She moved. When the man near the exit reached into his jacket, again, she was already there. Her grip locked around his wrist, twisting hard as a crude weapon fell to the floor. Gasps erupted as she forced him back into his seat and the attendants rushed to restrain him. But the second man saw everything. He ran. Panic surged through the cabin as he shoved past screaming passengers, reaching beneath his shirt. She sprinted after him, weaving through the chaos like it wasn't even there. He reached the rear galley, fumbling with a small device, but she struck first, knocking it from his hand before it could be armed. He fought. She ended it by the time air marshals revealed themselves. Both suspects were already secured. The cabin fell into a stunned, trembling silence. Then the captain's voice returned, steady now, filled with awe. "The threat has been neutralized, thanks to one of America's finest." Applause exploded. People cried, laughed, reached for her. But she didn't look back. Her gaze drifted to the stars beyond the window, to a sky that had once been her battlefield. When the plane landed, authorities swarmed the cabin. She slipped away with the other passengers unnoticed, carrying only her small bag and a lifetime of memories too. Them, she was a hero. To herself. She was simply who she had always been, and somewhere among the 300 people who walked away that night, her story would live on. As the quiet woman in row 22, who stood up when everything was on the line,